You know when you stare at a formula and it's just a sea of letters and you start to feel a little lost? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on all of that. We are unlocking the secret to solving for any letter in any formula. So, look at this. On the left, you've got something familiar, right? 2x plus 5 equals 15. We can handle that. But then on the right, ax plus b equals c? It looks more like an alphabet party. And for a lot of us, it's way more intimidating. So, be honest. Which one do you think is harder to solve? The one with the numbers you know, or the one that's just a pile of letters? Take a second. Surprise, it's actually a trick question. And here's the big secret that's going to make your life in algebra so much easier. The steps you use to solve both of these, they're exactly the same. And that really gets us to the core idea of what we're talking about today. We're going to see that even when the equations look totally different, the moves we make, the logic, it's all identical. We're focusing on the method, not just the numbers. Now, what we're dealing with here has a fancy name, a literal equation. But don't let that name scare you off. All it means is an equation with mostly letters, or variables. Your job isn't to find some neat number answer. Nope. Your job is to just rearrange it to get one specific letter all by itself. I want you to think of it like rearranging furniture in your living room. Let's say your goal is to get the TV by itself against one wall. To do that, you have to move all the other clutter, the couch, the coffee table, to the other side of the room. And the tools you use, they're the same tools you always use in algebra, inverse operations. You move addition by using subtraction. You move multiplication by using division. Same old moves. This quote from our source material just sums it all up perfectly. If you remember one thing from this whole explainer, make it this. The steps are the same. The answer just looks weirder. It's not going to be a clean number like 5. It's going to be a mix of letters and symbols, and that is 100% okay. All right, enough theory. The best way to really get this is to see it in action. So let's dive into our next section and actually walk through a few examples, from the super simple to a little more complex. Let's start with a classic from science class, the distance formula, d equals r times t. Our mission is to solve for t, get time all by itself. So, what's happening to t right now? Well, it's being multiplied by r. What's the inverse of multiplication? Division. So we divide both sides by r. The r's on the right cancel out, and we're left with our answer, t equals d over r. Boom! Simple as that. Okay, let's level up to a two-step problem. You've definitely seen this one. Y equals mx plus b. This time, our goal is to get that x all alone. Remember, we work backwards, like we're undoing a puzzle. First, we have to get rid of that plus b. So we do the inverse and subtract b from both sides. That leaves us with y minus b equals mx. Now, x is being multiplied by m, so we do the inverse again. Divide both sides by m, and there you have it. X equals the whole chunk, y minus b, all divided by m. And for our last example, let's use the formula for the perimeter of a rectangle. P equals 2L plus 2W. We want to solve for L. Okay, just like before, first move the stuff that's being added or subtracted. We subtract 2w from both sides. That gives us p minus 2w equals 2l. Now, l is being multiplied by 2, so we divide. And listen, this is the crucial part. You have to divide the entire other side by 2. So our final result is l equals the whole quantity p minus 2w all over 2. Okay, now that you've got the basic moves down, we need to talk about a couple of common traps that people fall into all the time. But knowing what they are, well, that's half the battle. There are two big ones to keep an eye on. First is something called bad cancellation, and we'll look at that in just a second. The second is case sensitivity. In math and science, the case of a letter really matters. A capital P for perimeter is a totally different thing than a lowercase p, which could stand for pressure. So you've got to be precise. So let's zoom in on that bad cancellation error. In our last problem, it is so tempting to just see the 2 on top and the 2 on the bottom and cancel them out to get p minus w. But you absolutely cannot do that. Because that subtraction sign on top glues the p and the 2w together, you have to divide both pieces by 2. The correct way to simplify is p divided by 2 minus w. Big difference. So you might be asking yourself, why do we just spend all this time rearranging letters? Because this isn't just some abstract math exercise. This skill is basically a superpower that lets you unlock and use formulas all over the real world. Take something you've actually heard of, converting temperatures. The standard formula to go from Celsius to Fahrenheit is right here. It's a perfect example of one of these literal equations that we use all the time.
Now, that formula is great if you have the temperature in Celsius and you want to know what it is in Fahrenheit. But what about the other way around? What if you're here in the US, you know it's 75 degrees Fahrenheit, and you need to tell your friend in Spain what the temperature is in Celsius?
You use your new superpower. You rearrange the formula. By using those same moves, subtracting 32 from both sides and then multiplying by 5/9, you can solve for C. You've just created a brand new super useful tool just by rearranging the parts of the old one. See, this goes way beyond just passing your next algebra quiz. This skill is the absolute key to unlocking formulas in physics, like F equals mem, in geometry, and even in finance. Being able to manipulate these equations is fundamental to so many different fields. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Now that you know the secret, that the steps are always the same, you hold the key. Formulas aren't scary rules to memorize anymore. They're puzzles. They're just relationships that you can explore and rearrange. So my question to you is, what other formulas are you ready to go out and unlock?